I used to apologize for everything. I'm sorry dinner is late. I'm sorry I forgot to buy your favorite coffee. I'm sorry you're having a bad day. Sometimes I even apologized when someone bumped into me at the grocery store. It had become part of who I was. I thought saying I'm sorry made me kind. I thought it kept the peace. But looking back now, I realize I wasn't keeping the peace. I was giving away pieces of myself. My name is Claire. I'm 34 years old, and I live in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. My husband, Ryan, and I had been married for 9 years. We had a beautiful little house, stable jobs, and no children yet. From the outside, our life looked peaceful. Inside our home, it was something else. Ryan wasn't cruel. He never yelled. He never threatened me. That almost made it harder to explain. He corrected me. He interrupted me. He dismissed my opinions with a smile that somehow hurt more than anger. Whenever I brought up something that bothered me, he'd sigh and say, "Claire, you're overthinking it again." If I asked him to help around the house, he'd answer, "You worry too much about little things." If I said I felt lonely, he'd laugh softly, "You're so emotional." Eventually, I stopped sharing. It seemed easier. Then I started apologizing instead. One Saturday morning, I was cleaning the kitchen while Ryan sat on the couch watching sports. I'd already done the laundry, walked the dog, and grocery shopped before noon. He looked toward the sink. "Did you forget to unload the dishwasher?" I immediately answered, "Sorry, I'll do it now." As I opened the dishwasher, I suddenly froze. Why was I apologizing? He hadn't done a single chore all morning. Still, I said sorry. That moment stayed with me. A few days later, my manager at work recommended a leadership workshop for women. At first, I almost declined. "I probably don't need it," I said. She smiled. "I think you deserve it." Those words stayed with me all week. During the workshop, one speaker said something that felt like she was speaking directly to me. Women are often taught to apologize to make other people comfortable, but every unnecessary apology quietly teaches people that your needs matter less than theirs. I wrote the sentence down. Then I read it again and again. That evening, I counted how many times I apologized. 11. Only one of them was actually necessary. The next morning, I made myself one promise. I would only apologize when I had truly done something wrong. Nothing else. It sounded simple. It wasn't. Ryan walked into the kitchen while I was drinking coffee. "You're using my favorite mug?" Normally, I would have smiled. Sorry, instead I looked up calmly. Yes, the other mugs were in the dishwasher. He looked surprised. "That's it?" I nodded. "That's it." It was such a tiny moment, but something shifted. Over the next week, I replaced apologies with simple facts. Instead of, "Sorry, dinner is late," I said, "Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. Instead of, "Sorry, I can't come," I said, "I already have plans." Instead of, "Sorry, but I disagree," I simply said, "I see it differently." At first, Ryan laughed. "Someone's been reading self-help books." I smiled. "I've been learning to communicate differently." He rolled his eyes. "Whatever makes you happy." I didn't argue. That surprised him even more. The following weekend, his parents came over. His mother criticized the way I arranged the living room. I would have done it differently. Usually, I'd apologize and start moving furniture. Instead, I smiled politely. "I like it this way." The room went quiet. Ryan stared at me. His mother blinked. Then she changed the subject. Driving home from dinner later that night, Ryan finally spoke. "You embarrassed my mom." "I don't think I did." "You could have just apologized." "For having my own taste?" He didn't answer. Instead, he turned up the radio. That silence lasted almost the whole drive home. Over the next month, something interesting happened. People who respected me adjusted quickly. People who benefited from my constant apologies became uncomfortable. Ryan started saying I had changed. He wasn't wrong. One evening, he came home irritated after work. Without even taking off his jacket, he looked at me. The house feels messy. I looked around. It wasn't messy. There were 2 coffee cups on the table and 1 folded blanket on the couch. I don't think it's messy. He frowned. So now you're arguing? No, I'm just telling you what I see. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said something that made my heart stop. I liked you better before. I looked into his eyes, wondering if he realized what he'd just admitted. Before I had boundaries, before I had confidence, before I stopped apologizing for existing. I took a slow breath. Then I quietly asked him one question. What exactly did you like better about the old me? He opened his mouth, and his answer changed everything. Ryan looked away before answering. Finally, he said quietly, things were easier. Not happier, not healthier, just easier. That one word settled heavily between us. I realized he wasn't saying he missed our marriage. He missed the version of me who never questioned anything. The version who carried the emotional weight of our relationship without asking him to carry any of it. For the first time in years, I didn't rush to fix the silence. I simply nodded. I understand. That evening, I went for a long walk around our neighborhood. I wasn't angry, I was sad. But beneath the sadness, there was something new. Clarity. I thought about the woman I had been when we first met. Confident, funny, curious. Somewhere over the years, I had confused being loving with being invisible. I had slowly edited myself to make everyone else comfortable. The next weekend, I asked Ryan if we could sit down without the television on. I want us to have an honest conversation. He agreed. I told him I loved him. I also told him I was no longer willing to shrink myself to avoid conflict. I won't apologize for having opinions. I won't apologize for needing respect. And I won't apologize simply because someone else feels uncomfortable. He listened quietly. When I finished, he surprised me. I didn't realize how often you apologized. Neither did I. He rubbed his hands together. I guess I got used to it. That sentence hurt. But it was honest. Over the next few weeks, we both noticed little habits we had never questioned before. If something went wrong, Ryan automatically looked at me to solve it. If plans changed, I automatically assumed it was my responsibility to adjust. We had built a marriage around roles that neither of us had intentionally created. For the first time, we started talking about them, not arguing. Talking, some conversations were uncomfortable. Some ended with silence. But silence no longer scared me. I had learned that silence isn't rejection. Sometimes it's simply space for people to think. One afternoon, we visited friends for a backyard barbecue. Someone accidentally spilled lemonade near the food table. Without thinking, I started to say, so I stopped myself. Everyone looked over. I smiled. No problem. I'll grab some paper towels. Our friend laughed. I thought you were about to apologize. So did I. We both laughed. It felt surprisingly freeing. Months passed. Our marriage wasn't magically perfect. No relationship is. But something important had changed. Ryan stopped expecting apologies where none were needed. He started saying thank you more often. He began helping without being asked. Not because I demanded it, because the old pattern no longer existed. And if he slipped back into old habits, I didn't react with guilt. I responded with calm honesty. One evening, he looked at me across the dinner table. You seem different. I am. You seem lighter. I smiled. I stopped carrying things that never belonged to me. He reached across the table and took my hand. I think I understand now. Maybe he did. Maybe he was still learning. Truthfully, so was I. The biggest change wasn't in my marriage. It was inside me. I no longer believed kindness required self-sacrifice. I no longer confused peace with silence. And I no longer believed love meant apologizing for taking up space. Now, when I make a real mistake, I apologize sincerely. But when I simply exist, when I have needs, when I set boundaries, when I speak honestly, I don't say I'm sorry. Because respecting myself has never been something I should apologize for. That simple change didn't just transform my marriage, it transformed the woman looking back at me in the mirror every morning. She wasn't louder. She wasn't harder. She was simply no longer afraid to believe that her voice mattered. If this story touched you, please comment and subscribe. I have one question for you. Have you ever apologized for something that wasn't your fault? Let me know your answer below.